Hey everyone, hope everybody's doing well and welcome to our webinar. And let's get started. After all, we're on a roll. My name is Jim Milligan. I'm Business Development Manager for Bekaert. Together with Byron Benson, Bekaert Technical Manager, we'll be presenting our webinar for a new, innovative, exciting concept for bed joint reinforcement for masonry. Murfor Compact, Masonry Reinforcement on a roll. Just to remind you, if we will be offering a certificate of participation for those who collect or keep track of their webinars, or you may be able to also use it for continuing education. And I'll remind you at the end of the presentation as well. So again, on behalf of Byron and myself, thank you for attending. Our agenda or format is I will be introducing Bekaert Corporation, some background, and introducing our a light introduction to Murfor Compact. Then I'll be handing off to Byron for technical information and benefits. And then Byron will be handing back off to me for a brief 2 or 3 slide summary at the end, and then question and answers. We know your time is valuable, so in return, we plan on offering an informative presentation on the benefits of bed joint reinforcement and the benefit of Murfor Compact and the new masonry reinforcement on a roll. Unlike the conventional 10-foot rigid sticks of ladder or truss masonry reinforcement, Murfor Compact is in a roll, 98 feet or 30 meters of continuous reinforcement. So you're able to roll it out to the needed length, and that creates less overlaps, less waste, and faster production while providing an improved crack control environment. Murfor Compact being in a roll is easier to handle, easier to carry, making it safer on job sites, better for storage, overall creating a better project environment. Bekaert is a 141-year-old world leader in wire transformation, including reinforcement products for concrete, asphalt, plastering, and masonry. As you see, Bekaert has over-the-top knowledge in wire drawing, knitting, weaving, cabling, welding, making us, again, a world leader in innovative products. Let's focus on masonry for now. Several years ago, Bekaert decided to look at masonry reinforcement and how we could improve it, make it better, make it more convenient. The answer, Murfor Compact and masonry reinforcement on a roll. I show this slide. I just want to illustrate the background of Bekaert and being a solid world leader company with many resources and very serious about innovation and new technology. Located in 120 countries, Murfor Compact was launched several years ago in the European market with great success. This occurred around 2016, 2017. The success was so great, we decided to bring it to North America. As you can see here, Bekaert's largest sector is in automotive, applying many products to the automotive industry, springs, cabling, etc. A fun fact, in one of our smaller markets, is every 9 out of 10 wire retainers around the cork of champagne bottles is manufactured by Bekaert. But let's get back to masonry. Our second largest sector, as you will see, is the construction market. We have many construction products or supply the wire for many construction products. I just want to point this out. We are very serious about improving and increasing our construction part and our construction sector. So I've sort of given you the background of the Bekaert Corporation and background and sort of brief introduction of Murfor Compact. We will give you more information on the Murfor Compact with technical information. So I'm going to be handing off to Byron, but I sort of have a gentle engineering joke to share. So there was an optimist, a pessimist, and an engineer. The optimist said, hey, the glass is half full. The pessimist said, hey, the glass is half empty. And Byron, our engineer, said, hey, the glass needs to be thicker. So we'll give you a moment to quit laughing, and we'll hand off to Byron.
Thanks, Jim. I'm sure most of us would much rather talk about champagne bottles, but I'm here to talk more about the practical applications for Murfor Compact in buildings. As Jim mentioned, my name is Byron Benson. I'm a technical manager for Bekaert Corporation. I am a licensed structural engineer with 25 years of design experience in the commercial industry. So let's jump right into it. I'm sure that most people on the call are very familiar with the limitations of brittle materials such as masonry and concrete. So just like concrete, masonry is brittle and is weak in tension. So we compensate for that by adding steel in very specific locations to resist that tension and to enable the material to act as a composite material and perform well in its strengths and compression, and let the steel resist the tension that is a result of various kinds of loading. So our product, Murfor Compact, is placed into the horizontal joints of the masonry to resist the tension that is induced by any number of loadings that the masonry will see throughout its life. As we all know, structures respond in various ways to the loadings that they see. Murfor Compact is primarily used in brick veneers. Brick veneers are one of the primary loading factors, or one of the loadings on brick veneers is response to temperature changes, expansion and shrinkage due to that changes in loading. So we can place Murfor Compact in the joints of the brick masonry to resist the effects of temperature changes and the expansion that results from both temperature and moisture gain and loss. We'll get into some more structural applications later in the presentation, but Murfor Compact can be used for temperature and shrink control, as well as carrying loads that would be placed, vertical loads that would be placed on a brick veneer. This picture shows an actual project where Murfor Compact was placed into a residential project that is owned by an engineer. He wanted the additional assurances of crack control that Murfor Compact provides in the brick veneer. So this was placed very successfully in the project, and the owner is very, very happy and pleased with the outcome of Murfor Compact in his veneer. This slide shows the more technical aspects of Murfor Compact. The E35 is the product that you saw in the picture above, and it you can see the width is 1.4 inches, so it fits within the thickness of the masonry. And you can also see that while the area provided is small, the yield strength is very, very high, 188 KSI versus the 70 KSI of typical 9-gauge reinforcement. So we're going to show a very quick movie here showing the benefits of Murfor Compact. So hopefully this will play. Okay, so let's get into some actual projects where this product has been used. In Europe, we have used Murfor Compact in many projects throughout Europe. These are just a few of the examples. The round structure is a water tower in Belgium. It has a 164-foot circumference. The other structures show long, uninterrupted veneers where Murfor Compact is placed to control temperature and shrinkage cracking and allow much wider vertical expansion joint spacing for cost savings and for improved aesthetics. It's also used in as an alternative lintel over openings, and also in walls that have a great deal of openings, and is used within the joints to reinforce the remaining brick against the effects of expansion and contraction due to thermal and moisture gain. So how can you take advantage of the benefits of Murfor Compact? Where do you place it? What do you do with it? It's very beneficial being placed above and below openings. The openings in a veneer wall, any structure, the reentrant corners provide stress concentrations where cracks form. So we provide rebar around the in a concrete structure, we provide rebar at reentrant corners. And in a masonry structure, we can provide Murfor Compact as the reinforcement above and below the openings to reinforce those openings and resist the tensile stresses that result from the reentrant corners. It can also be placed, let's see, my slide's a little bit different. So we can also use Murfor Compact to extend the spacing between vertical control joints. So in the States, in the US, the spacing is typically 25 feet. In Europe, they actually go much, much farther than 25 feet, and that's because they use reinforcement in the joints. So providing that resistance to expansion and contraction, those vertical joints can be placed much farther apart, resulting in a much cleaner appearance, and the cracks are then controlled by their Murfor Compact. So the effect is the same. You get the veneer behaves just as a veneer with more closely spaced vertical joints behaves. Murfor Compact can also be placed underneath a high concentrated load application. A concentrated load such as a roof beam on a veneer wall would set up obviously very high compressive forces, but the response to that, the perpendicular response to that from a Poisson's reaction would result in a tension along the length of the wall. So Murfor Compact can be placed in the joints underneath that high point load to resist the Poisson, the tension from Poisson effects underneath that point load and control the cracking from that tension. We can also reinforce stack bond masonry in accordance to the code as well. We all know that there are special requirements in stack bond, and Murfor Compact can be used in stack bond masonry as very easily, just as well. In certain instances and with proper supporting conditions, Murfor Compact in the joints can also resist out of plane loads. If you have perpendicular walls behind the veneer that would act as a support, or a steel post that would act as a wind beam, the joint reinforcement can act in the out of plane direction to resist wind loads such as wind on the structure acting perpendicular to the face. So it can work out of plane as well as in plane. Where else can we use Murfor Compact? It can be placed in various locations throughout a structure where stress concentrations just naturally occur. This picture shows some of those locations. At the base of a structure, there's the difference between the support and the masonry, the veneer wall. There are stress concentrations that are set up in the veneer due to the transition from a more rigid base to the veneer wall. So Murfor Compact can be placed just above the base to resist and to distribute that tension and those stresses and therefore those cracks throughout the wall and keep cracks small and closed. It can also be placed, as we mentioned before, above and below window openings, door openings, to resist the stress concentrations from reentrant corners. This is especially beneficial where there is an opening in a long wall, a bigger expanse of veneer where temperature and shrinkage effects are magnified due to the longer and the material, the greater amount of material. It can also be placed at changes of stiffness in the structure, at the change of height. Many times there would be a joint placed there, but there can't always be a joint placed at all changes of stiffness, such as the sloping wall, or at the top where there's an architectural feature where those windows pop up off of that sloping roof. It's tough to put a vertical joint there, or it would be very unsightly to put a vertical joint there. So in that change of stiffness in the veneer structure, Murfor Compact can be placed in those joints at that location to control cracking and to control the stresses set up by the change of stiffness that you see given that change in geometry. This is a gable end. This is a perfect example of varying geometry and varying loads set up within that veneer due to that varying geometry, the change of mass, the amount of mass, the amount of temperature, the amount of heat that it gains and loses, of the amount of moisture that it gains and loses varies with the height of the gable. So we can place Murfor Compact in that gable end and control cracking that would result from the varying tensile effects from the varying temperature changes and moisture changes through the height of gables. We can also place Murfor Compact in joints over openings, and the Murfor Compact can actually act as the tensile reinforcement in a beam. We can create a beam with Murfor Compact over openings to span the openings in lieu of the traditional steel angles. So this results in a much cleaner lintel, a much more aesthetic appealing lintel because there's no steel there. You see from the bottom, you don't see steel, you see masonry. You see the material that the rest of the wall is made from. And it offers a very nice, appealing aesthetic look to the structure, as well as a reduced maintenance cost. There's no long-term maintenance associated with a Murfor Compact lintel like you would have with a steel lintel. We can also use Murfor Compact in specialty walls. I believe these are called claustro walls. Those openings would set up various tensile stresses within the wall, and by placing Murfor Compact within the joints that pass all the way through, we can provide additional increased stability to that wall and increased resistance to cracking that is set up due to the geometric changes within the wall and the openings and the non-constant material. I'm sorry. Okay, so what are some details of the installation? Murfor Compact can be lapped. The splices of Murfor Compact, they're spliced just like traditional 9-gauge reinforcement. They're just simply overlapped. Corners are also just simply overlapped. Just as with the 9-gauge reinforcement, the laps should be staggered vertically, just like you would do in concrete reinforcement as well. As was mentioned in the video, the Murfor Compact comes in standard widths, but we can combine those widths so that we can reinforce a wall of nearly any thickness. So we can place multiple strips of Murfor Compact along the wall to reinforce that wall. I've mentioned that Murfor Compact is an alternative reinforcing material. So we have a evaluation report from the IATMO Uniform Evaluation Service. Our report number is ER 516. This allows owners, engineers, contractors to go to the building official to get approval from the building official for using Murfor Compact as an alternative masonry reinforcing material in structures in the U.S. This just allows you to conform to the building code via the alternative material provisions that are provided in the IBC and the ACI. So some of the more technical aspects of Murfor Compact, I won't go deeply into this, but just to show you, the Murfor Compact is designed according to typical conventional equations for bending stress. It's the classical bending theory of stress and strain compatibility. So the masonry resists the compressive stresses, and the Murfor Compact and the steel in the joints below the neutral axis, those resist the tensile forces that are set up when you have a vertical load and bending over an opening such as a lintel beam. This is precisely how we design lintel beams and how we determine how many layers of Murfor Compact need to be placed in the lower layers to carry the tension and to carry the loading over the opening. This acts just like a precast lintel beam, but offers the more aesthetic appeal of your lintel is exactly the same. It's just the same as your brick veneer. There's no change in material. There's no steel. There's reduced long-term maintenance costs with this kind of a lintel. So the theory is nice. That's great. I get the theory. We all get the theory. But does it really work? The proof is in the pudding. So we did some testing in Europe, and this is an 8-foot span beam, and though it's loaded at the third point with a total of 9,000 pounds, and you can see that the beam carried the load, and it cracked just as you would anticipate a reinforced masonry beam would crack. It cracked at the joints. But this is proof that the Murfor Compact in the joints acts as a beam and acts as just as conventional reinforcement works, and is a viable alternative to traditional lintels, and therefore also shows that the Murfor Compact is perfectly capable of resisting tension in the masonry, however that tension is set up, either through bending or temperature and shrinkage, wind loading, however it's set up. Murfor Compact is a viable alternative for use as reinforcement in your masonry veneer. With that, remember that you can ask questions in the chat box. We can get to your questions at the end of the presentation. And with that, I will hand it back to Jim.
Sorry about that, I was muted. Thank you, Byron. Great information. Appreciate all of the effort put into it. So we'll go into some references. So as you can see, and I'm going to go through several of these, and then we'll get to a summary. Long walls, as Byron mentioned, Murfor Compact will excel on long walls because it's in the 100-foot roll, so you have the less overlap, the less waste, things of that nature. So a true benefit on long walls. Again, another illustration on this project, Murfor Compact would have been used above and below the windows, re-entrant corners to help with any potential cracking and to improve any cracking. Specialty walls. As you can see, this is a little bit different type of wall, and Bekaert or Murfor Compact would have been used throughout this wall again to help with any potential crack resistance. Stack bonded. So also a good application for the Murfor Compact to help with a stack bonded wall. This would have been multiple applications. This was a project in Quebec, and the architect and engineer approached us saying, hey, we have this project. We would like to extend some expansion joints, and we would like to eliminate some expansion joints if possible. So we always recommend on an application like this that you contact me or our office. Let us take a look at the project for the proper recommendation. And this would be a good time to point out that we have a full in-house technical department, so we can look at any project you have and make the proper and correct recommendation. In this case, we were able to eliminate some expansion joints, and he also decided to put it around the windows for the re-entry corners for any possible future cracking. So overall, we improved the job. The architect liked the application so much that he wrote us a project report, and we'll be sharing some of that in the future. But he was elated with the outcome of his project. So we're going to go into a brief summary, and I'm going to try. I'm not going to repeat everything because we've already spoke to their points a couple times. And as Byron mentioned, if you have any questions, now would be the time to enter them as I do a brief summary. So the benefits of Murfor Compact. It's efficient, so improved crack control. The stainless steel wire is thinner, but it has a tensile strength of over 188,000. So that allows it to be thinner and gives equivalent or better performance than the conventional reinforcement. Fast and simple, nearly 100 feet on a roll, 98 feet. It's easy and safe to transfer it on project. You can put it around your wrist and walk up the scaffolding. You're not carrying 10-foot sticks of rigid, pointed reinforcement that could cause injury to yourself or someone else. As Byron mentioned, we can accommodate any wall width, so you don't have to necessarily inventory different size products. You can simply roll out the Murfor Compact in combination to accommodate whatever width you're looking for. Easy to store and easy to stack. So look at it this way. Murfor Compact E35 comes in a 12-inch by 12-inch box, 6 rolls to a box. You can stack them 6 feet high, maybe a little more, but let's just go with 6 feet. So in a 12-inch by 12-inch footprint, you were able to store 3,600 lineal feet of masonry reinforcement. To accommodate this same, you would need 360 sticks of the conventional reinforcement. Less space on your work scaffolding, so your guys doesn't have the potential to trip or fall or run into 360 sticks stacked up. They would simply distribute the 12-inch by 12-inch boxes along your scaffolding, easy to access and much safer. As mentioned, Bekaert is a world leader in wire transformation, and that sort of caused the development of the Murfor Compact. As I mentioned previously, Bekaert decided they wanted to improve masonry reinforcement, just as we have improved other sectors of reinforcement in the concrete industry with our Dramex product, in the asphalt industry with our Fortifix. So now Murfor Compact for masonry. It is 3 times less weight, so easier to carry, easier to maneuver on job sites. 10 times more product. So combining the two, you have half the weight with more length. 3 times the yield strength. Again, we have the higher yield strength to be able to create a thinner wire. And to this point, we are participating, we are a member of the NCMA, and we are participating and was invited to participate in a year-long study putting our product and a few others into a masonry wall constructed at their site. They're monitoring the wall, and part of the study was to create and study thinner mortar joints. Well, as you can see, Murfor Compact fits right into that category. Thinner wire, thinner mortar joints. Here is my contact information, and I'm going to say this first before I get into a little bit of housekeeping and remind you of a couple of things. So, one, if you're interested in the certificate of participation, if you can use it for continuing education, or if you just like to keep it in a file to remember the webinars you have participated in, there is my email address. Send me an email just requesting the certificate of participation, and we'll get that returned to you within a few days to a week. You can see our U.S. headquarters is in Marietta, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. I want to give you a reminder. We are also a member of the MCAA. We recently gave a webinar with the MCAA back in May. And following the webinar, there was so much interest with the MCAA that they invited us to do an article for their MCAA magazine. We have already submitted our draft to them for approval. So keep an eye out. I think we are looking at possibly September, October. We will be in the, we will have an article with, again, more features of Murfor Compact in their magazine. I will be available for calls immediately following this webinar. So if you have any questions that pop in your head and that you didn't get a chance to ask during this webinar, don't hesitate to give me a call. I will be available. Following this webinar, you'll be receiving an email, and it is a survey just requesting some feedback. How did we do? Did we give correct information? Things of that nature. If you choose to participate, keep an eye open for that, that email. So now we will go to questions and answer. And I'm going to hand this over to Catherine for any questions that were input into the chat line.
Yeah, so great job on that, guys. Thanks for going through that. I saw that Klaus said he was not able to see the movie, so hopefully that link worked out for you. I'm sorry about that. The first question that we had was a good question about the installation, so probably one for Byron. You know, when you're installing Murfor Compact, do you apply the Murfor Compact first, or do you put the mortar first? I think that's, you know, kind of a, how is it different from, you know, the traditional sense? So Byron, if you want to make a comment on that.
Sure, yeah, it's installed just like traditional 9-gauge wire reinforcement. The Murfor Compact goes on the block first and then is covered by mortar, and then the second course of brick goes on top of that. So identical to conventional reinforcement, so there is no learning curve.
Great, awesome. If there's any other questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat now. We'll stay online for just a few more minutes just to make sure. As Jim said, his contact information is there. He is ready to help you guys out with any questions that you have. You know, as they said with the project that we did in Canada, our technical team really worked through all of the aspects of that, of including Murfor Compact within that. So we are definitely willing and ready to help you get that, get Murfor Compact into your next project. So let us know. We'll kind of hang out a couple more minutes and see if there's any other questions.
Okay, it looks like everybody is sort of being shy. We'll give a couple more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and on behalf of Byron, Catherine, Mariana, and myself, we do appreciate you attending the webinar. We know your time is valuable. We hope we have given you some good information to consider Murfor Compact with all of the benefits. Give it a try. Give us a call. We have some sample rolls that we would be happy to provide you. If you wanted to do a little bit larger test or trial, we would certainly try to accommodate you on that. If you need us to come on site to look at a project, to possibly do a test or trial, happy to do that. If you would like feedback, once we do some of this other testing, we have another test we're looking to schedule in the near future with IMI, the International Masonry Institute, on getting some walls, test walls built and getting contractor feedback. And I'm going to go back to Catherine. It looks like we've got one more question that's popped in.
Yeah, so I see that. What's the main difference with actual Murfor? So we do have another product in Europe that is similar to the 10-foot stick type reinforcement that is typically used. That's not in the U.S. market, but kind of what is the biggest difference between that? I think that might be another good one for Byron.
The main difference is just the geometric differences. It's smaller. It's made of cables as opposed to solid wire. As you mentioned, the area is less per cable, but the yield strength is much higher in the Murfor Compact. So it provides the same strength as the wire. The main difference is how it's applied, due to the way it looks, obviously, and then how it's applied is really the main difference between that project.
So we've got a question from Brian that's come in. Engineers like the tie to attach to the wire. How do you convince them this is better?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Engineers like the tie to attach.
I think it's probably the wall tie that's typically used in brick. Yeah, brick veneer wall tie.
My experience, the wall tie just goes in the joint, and there doesn't even have to be any reinforcement in that joint at wall ties. There can, but in the current trend toward thinner joints, the space in those joints for the horizontal reinforcement, the wall ties, and if you've got a lap splice between traditional reinforcement, you start running out of room very, very quickly, especially in narrower joints. So in that sort of application, the Murfor Compact would be much better just from a geometric point of view. You get the same strength, but now you have more room, less congestion, better bonding to your wall ties with the mortar. I hope that answers your question.
Ryan says he agrees, but tell that to an engineer. They want the wire to hook. So Byron can comment, but I know that's definitely, as Jim mentioned, that's something that we're working with the NCMA association to try and kind of figure out, if we're not having the crowding of the joints, what does that look like in the industry? So that's definitely something we've taken into consideration.
Yeah, and to add to that a little bit, I mean, hey, we know we have our job cut out for us. I mean, conventional reinforcement has been around forever. We're the new kids on the block, with not only the new kids on the block with our name, but a whole new concept, masonry reinforcement in a roll. So we know we have our work cut out for us, and that's why we've been working very closely with great acceptance by all of these different masonry associations. Like I said, we're involved with a year-long test with the NCMA. MCAA was very interested, allowing us to do a webinar, now a magazine article. We're going to look at doing some test walls with IMI. We're going to reach out to architects and engineers, offer lunch and learns. So we're going to do everything we can, our due diligence, if you will, to make sure that everybody clearly understands our concept, our capabilities, our performance, and hopefully we'll at least get the opportunity to do a trial or a test, or if you want to take baby steps, maybe we start out on a small project and then work our way up to the larger projects with the architect and engineering community. So don't shut us out. Keep an open mind. Again, Bekaert's a 141-year-old, very conservative company where a lot of thought, testing, intel has went into this product. And I can tell you, we would not bring it into the industry if we had any doubts about it. So please give us some consideration. Any other questions?
I think that's looking like we're good in the questions.
Okay.
Congrats for the presentation. Thank you so much, Romario. Thank you guys for joining. We're wrapping up a little bit early, so hope to get a couple more minutes back in your day, which is great. But again, contact information is there, and as Jim said, you'll get a follow-up email with the link to the presentation. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us.
And again, on behalf of the whole Bekaert team, appreciate your attendance. Reach out to us, give us a chance. Thank you, and goodbye for now.